We should be bantering, sir. We should be bantering. Look who's back.
Banter. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Oh my gosh.
I
I'm
got
so excited
whiter.
you're
I
back.
don't.
I can't tell you.
Did you miss me?
I missed you a lot. A
Oh,
lot.
good.
I was
Yeah.
pining for you on the air yesterday. Now, Ellie thankfully jumped in for you yesterday. She did a great job. But it's just I missed you. It's been what, 10 days, even longer since we last got to hang out. And
Yeah, 10, 11 days. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a long time.
I know, right? This is the longest digital relationship I've ever had.
I know I'm almost tempted to never see you in real life at all because what happens if we don't like each other in real life? It's like
I don't think that's good. I don't think that's possible. It's funny how many people know who you are, right? Like on this trip, everybody was talking about, Zev. How's it going with Zev? What's he like? Is he really that smart? I'm like, yeah, he's really that smart.
oh,
He's
it's
like
nice to
this
hear.
investigator. And I was taking these guys through your work on the Greatest Heist, like Congressman Denver Riggleman in Greenland, Riggleman, fucking Malcolm Nance had no idea the depth of the financial crimes involved. Jacob, we've been calling Jacob Carsboat Jacob for the last week. Turns out his name's Jacob, just never wanted to tell
And
us
he's
that's
so
how you
polite, he
pronounce
never
his name. And
corrected us once.
not a word, not a
That's
word.
hilarious.
Walked into his house to have dinner with his family. His wife's like, Jacob, can you go get something? I can't speak Danish, but she told me to go get something. And I looked at him and I'm like, your name's Jakob? And he goes, yes, yes. I go, I've been calling you fucking Jacob for 10 months. He goes, that's Canada, how you say it. He's such a gracious dude.
What did they serve
But
you for
no,
dinner? What did you have for dinner? Was it
oh,
some?
Lebanese food of all
Oh,
things.
because
Yeah, they treat Lebanese food like we treat Chinese food over here. It's
okay,
huge, right?
all
Lebanese
right.
food, like doner shops and shawarmas and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
like
So,
that too. It's
um,
yummy.
yeah, yeah, I do too. But no, dude, I'm telling you, it was. You are very well and highly regarded. Your greatest high series got the rounds, and half the people were like, I had no idea this went back to Iran Contra. I'm like, dude, it is so much bigger. The impetus for the financial shit gives like complete fucking meaning to the entire purpose of the Epstein files, and very few people have tracked it the way you've tracked it, right? So again, hi everybody. If you're watching, go to narrative.org because that's where it breaks down. I think you're on with Lev tonight. You've got a panel with Ellie and a couple of other people around 7:30 to
Yeah,
kind of
join us
surround
if you
this whole
want. It'll
thing.
be a good one. If
Yeah, I
you,
might.
it's we're
I
gonna look
might.
at
I have
it.
a little jet lag, so we'll see what happens.
We're gonna do. Oh well, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. We're gonna do a little bit about
Yeah.
the Russian ties to Epstein and all the other stuff we've been finding out. Um, I've got to hear more about Greenland because that is looks spectacular. It looks beautiful. The pictures you shared were
Oh,
amazing.
stunning.
It looks like firstly you're in some sort of alien terrain. It doesn't look like Earth at all, and it's stunning. Like it looks like you're on a set of Star Trek or something. It just seemed so amazing to me.
You really are. Like I'm sorry, I'm just letting the dog out. I can do
No,
two things at the same time. I'm
yeah, you can.
multitasking. Poochie has to go pee pee. Um, but the crazy part is you're not wrong. It felt like an alien set. Like it felt like we were on the set of Star Wars. Felt like we were in Hoth, depending on where we were. If anybody's familiar with, the Star Wars trilogy and the Ice Planet, where the Empire Strikes Back sort of sets the scene for the entire movie. It is the most stunningly dangerous place on Earth. It
Mm.
is massive. People don't realize how huge Greenland is. It is 4,500 years of survival living, right? And they've got it fucking figured out there. Nobody, and I mean nobody in Greenland works so they can live. Right? They just live and everything's work all the time. It's a survival economy, survival society. And it's the one thing that Trump doesn't understand. It's one thing Americans, Canadians don't understand it. When you go there, it's not like you're going to run into people who are running to and from work. Yeah, there's a work economy. There's a little place called Nuke Center. There are all kinds of different places that people do work. But like, there's a gas station in the city of Nuke. There's, people catch their food for dinner that night. One example, we were in this little settlement at the end of the Nuuk Fjord, the second largest fjord system in the world. We took a 2-hour trip there. It was absolutely unbelievable. It was maybe the greatest day trip I've ever been on. Encountered my first iceberg, which is
Yeah,
prehistoric, right?
yeah.
And this fjord system is like wall to wall rock granite death, but it is so beautiful that you can't take your eyes off what you're looking at. The water is so blue in its own ecosystem. And when you go there, you realize what's important to the people of Greenland and why they don't give a fuck. And they'll fight Donald Trump. They will just grab their long rifles and fight anybody that tries to come and take what they have been caretakers for the past 5,000 years.
Mm.
And here's why I say caretakers, because the people of Greenland are not allowed to own property there. Can't own the land.
Oh,
It's not
really?
allowed.
Oh,
Not allowed. There's no such thing as real estate. You can't buy a piece of land. There's no such thing as like, buying a plot of land so that you can hang on a second.
no worries.
Hey, let's go. No, she's got to go smell the garbage. I got to go get her. Um, because the land owns the people. It's like a cultural phenomenon that is not shared anywhere around the world, and the people, with their lives, care for the land.
Right,
So when you hear stories of Donald Trump going, "We just want a piece of real estate we can call our own," they will fight you to the fucking death, so that never happens.
right. Because they're
Like to the
protecting the
fucking
land. That's
death.
their job.
Yes.
That is such an important distinction, and it really puts everything into context. Because if that's what Donald Trump wants, is to own, he wants to buy it, he wants to own it. That's never going to happen. It's never.
No,
It's a fever
no.
dream.
Here's the thing: he can't pay the people of Greenland to let him do it because the people of Greenland don't own it.
Right, right.
Like
Nor do they want
there's
your
no,
money because they
there's
don't need it. Their money doesn't help them
yeah,
do anything.
and, and the state of Denmark doesn't own it either. And the reason why the state of Denmark doesn't own it is because the people of Greenland are caretakers of it. Like that's the thing they don't understand. And so when I came back changed for a couple of different reasons, and we'll get into that on a few other podcasts. But the reason when I came back, the reason why I was stunned is because I came back and the dumb shit that's important to us seems to kind of no longer matter. Like accumulation of real estate, like, sorry, I got to pick up the dog. Accumulation of real estate, the accumulation of things. There's nothing there to accumulate. There's nothing.
Right.
It's just survival, community, love, culture, and the militant protection of those things. So there's a Cliff's Notes for everybody that thinks that Donald Trump can just walk into Greenland. And by the way, there are 36,000 long guns and rifles in the hands of 57,000 people that can live on a glacier 365, no problem. The United States military can't, has no answer to that. None.
So when you take
Zero.
away possessions and you take away money, people are happy and they don't worry about those things.
Shocked, hey?
Yeah, it's pretty
Shocked,
amazing.
shocked. Absolutely shocking. Anyway, it was tremendous, and I was really fortunate to go with the people from the Save America movement. And I want everybody to go to the Save America movement website, saveamerica.org. Steve Schmidt, Mary Corcoran, uh, Denver Riggleman, Hannah Harbaugh. I mean, Dr. Angela Rasmussen. This is a growing behemoth that is citizen led because that's what the moment requires. There isn't a government agency that's here to help you. It's going to be citizens getting together to force the conversation, build
Mhm.
dialogue, build bridges with other citizens in other countries to literally step on the fucking neck of fascism. And I have never been part of a group. It was funny, because I'm a fighter by nature, as you know. I'm a
Yeah.
bit of a mouthpiece, and I don't really give a shit. I just try to do the right thing militantly for everybody else because it's good for my soul to do that. That's what the people of Save America are. I said to
Mm.
Schmidt, who's one of the co-founders, Steve Schmidt, who everybody should follow the warning. I said to him today in a phone call, I'm like, I found my people because there isn't a goddamn thing the people from the Save America won't do to save their democracy by partnering with other democracies and the citizens in those democracies to call this what it is, which is a fucking cancer that needs to be cut out of the body politic and the global ecosystem.
Are we going to make you an American on the show? Are we actually going to transition you from being a Canadian to an American? Not a chance, he says. Well, I don't know. It might happen.
No,
Never say
no, but
never.
that's kind of but dude, I'll tell you what, the Save America movement is kind of the part of it that I love, right?
Yeah.
Is that they know to save America, they have to go and help other people. They
Right.
have to go and create relationships in a network where, the MAGA cult and the fascist rapist felon in chief known as Donald Trump and his cabal are deeply rooted in other countries with the AFD, Viktor Orban, here in Canada and Alberta with the Maple MAGA Party, which, by the way, no one from the Conservative Party of Canada said a word about the Epstein files yet. There's a challenge there. I'm going to chat about that another day, maybe talk about it on Substack. But that's the beauty of this organization. And man, do they fight. Ooh.
Well, Americans know
Ooh,
how to
boy, oh
fight. I'll
boy.
give you that much. Then it comes down to, and especially about this stuff. I mean, when it comes down to
Yeah.
this, the freedom of and their freedom and their country, they will fight. And their Steve Schmidt is one hell of a fighter. I mean, he's won, presidencies. He's put people in the White House simply because he's been able to, almost put people in the White House, I should say. But anyhow, let's get into
Well,
the top.
dude, yeah, he was part of the it's funny because he single-handedly turned Schwarzenegger's second term into a reality, to your point. And
Yeah,
we can't, but here's the thing I love about Steve Schmidt and everybody at the Save America movement. They're absolute warriors. They have no problem mucking it up in the corners, if you will. They are morally inflexible to what's proper and right. They are morally inflexible. They know that this time is a character test for America, and they are forcing themselves by will, people and individuals to show up for America. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's Steve in a nutshell, and everybody involved.
yeah.
It's a straight pipe that goes through the fabric of every single person involved. So,
Yeah, Steve
fortunate to be
Schmidt is
part of
one
it.
of the best voices for American freedom around, and he is always really adeptly attuned to every single nuance
Yeah.
of the American sensibility and American timing, and he's just a great orator. I love hearing him speak about things. At number 5 on the countdown today, because we should get to this, unless you want to keep talking about Greenland, we can. But
Steve Schmidt. I just
yeah,
want to keep singing Steve Schmidt's praises.
yeah.
No, I'll sing those another day. Number five, where do we start, my friend? Welcome to the Five
Oh,
Stack, everybody. It's been a while. Let's get into it. Let's
number
go.
5 is this is where we start today. The buried bodies at 2 locations, and this gets really dark. This is not easy stuff to talk about. Writing these scripts is not easy. Writing these stories is not easy. Congressman Ted Leo stood in front of reporters and said the words that we'd all been thinking since the Epstein files came out. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. This is a quote from Leo. Thousands and thousands of times. There's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So that is a significant story that comes out of a congressman in the House, someone who's been investigating Epstein for a long time, someone who understands Epstein. Sure, they're talking about Bill Clinton. Sure, they're talking about Prince Andrew. But the stuff about Trump is absolutely horrifying. And it's not just one or two
Mm,
reports, it's multiple reports. And one of the most significant, and this relates specifically to Epstein, is about the bodies buried in Zorro Ranch, which is the little known New Mexico ranch of Jeffrey Epstein, where victims were taken and some of the wildest things happened to them. I'm going to go through some of them in a bit. But there is one particular report from the FBI files where someone is saying that they had video and evidence of 2 bodies buried in the mountains near Zorro Ranch, and that those 2 bodies were 2 foreign women that were flown into Zorro Ranch and died during very, very kinky or rough sex, and then were buried there. Now, that would be horrific on its own. It's horrific that there was only one ever FBI investigation of this. I found out just recently in 2019, but it was just a cursory look through the property. But then there's these other allegations involving Donald Trump and bodies being buried at his golf course
yeah.
related to parties that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell threw for Donald Trump at his golf course, which is
Yeah.
also sort of being underreported that they were throwing sex parties for Donald Trump at his golf course, according to these allegations. And that apparently there's some bodies involved, and we'll get into it a little later on, but it also involves the Sinaloa cartel. This is one person's account. We don't know for sure, but
Guess who had just pardoned from the Sinaloa
yeah,
cartel that used to be the president of the Honduras?
yeah, it's been very nice to the Sinaloa cartel as Donald Trump. And the allegations just go on and on and on from there. It's horrific stuff. I mean, it's not even stuff that you can make up, and it repeats itself. The thing that makes
Yeah.
it so striking is that the same pattern of people dying in rough sex comes up again and again in the FBI files.
If anybody has not gone to narrative.org or to the Zev Substack, which is narrative.org, you need to, because both of these stories are given the care they deserve and the detail that is needed in terms of, these salacious allegations. And keep in mind, and I made a point of talking. I had when Lev and I got together earlier. I'll be posting that a little later on, but some of you may have watched it. These are not, Brian 6259 on Twitter from his basement with, an allegation or a conspiracy theory about, the murder of two young foreign children at Zorro Ranch in New Mexico at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein and et al. We know Jeffrey Epstein was there. We know Ghislaine Maxwell was there, according to the allegation. And I'll get to the email in just a second, but you can read about it at narrative.org. These are allegations that were vetted and handed to senators, congressmen, congresswomen, and are now being entered into the public record by lawyers, constitutional lawyers, lawyers who are now, lawmakers, policymakers like Ted Lieu et al. Every one of them is now repeating. And keep in mind, elected officials are not going to repeat conspiracy theories unless you're in MAGA, right? You can't just enter these into the atmosphere and go, well, I guess Donald Trump looks like Donald Trump was part of a plot to murder or murdered young kids and
Yeah.
had them buried on his fucking golf course after a sex party. Or
You don't just
it
say
looks
those
like
things.
Donald Trump. You don't just say those things. So in an email, November 21st, 2019, and this is a very serious, this is in the Epstein files, in that 3.5 million document dump. This is at
Is this the
narrative.org. And
one
the
that
title of the story, Exclusive Bodies Buried at Zorro. If you go there, that's the one. I'll read it to everybody. Edward, this is a confidential note to Jeffrey Epstein about Jeffrey Epstein. Edward, don't know who Edward is. Maybe you do. This is sensitive, so it will be the first and last email, depending on your discretion. This is you can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all as former staff at the Zorro. The material below is taken from Jeffrey Epstein's home as my insurance in case of future litigation against Epstein. Sorry, no questions. What's damning about about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside Zorro, two foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G, both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex, and then provided a litany of links, truncated links that connect back to certain videos, specifically with people like Matthew Mellon from the Mellon Banking Fortune, who may or may not have been involved in this. Again, these are all, we still don't know. No one's been charged. All the bullshit you have to say when you make allegations like this. Um, that is that is a fact-based uh, that is a fact-based sourced email from 2019. 2019. Okay. That is 6 years ago. Th- Senator Ted Lieu is not going to fucking sit there and talk about it as if this is fact, unless it might be fact or
Yeah.
fact-based.
I mean, everyone
The other
vetted all
one,
these things, right? I mean, it wasn't like
of course,
yeah,
that
nothing came
you don't
out.
go to press with any of this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? Like, unless again you're MAGA and you're just looking for an excuse. It is stunning that this has been sitting in FBI fucking files. This and the allegation in another story at Narrative, which is taken from the Epstein files by my friend and researcher Zev Shalev, that Donald Trump had a dead child slash rape victim buried on the quote 19th hole of his golf course.
Yeah. That story about the about what happened at the Trump golf courses is it's just fascinating on its own. But just to wrap up a little bit on Zorro, which is so interesting to me about this particular case, is the managers of Zorro Ranch, who were there managing the place for 20 years, I think, just disappeared after the Ghislaine Maxwell charges were announced way back when. So you've got this couple that were working there, managed the place, and then just disappeared. Nobody knows where they are. Some people say maybe New Zealand. Who knows? Nobody knows where they are. Now, the weirdness of that is too much to behold. I mean, it's like you've got these allegations here of people who work on the ranch saying they've got video and all sorts of other things related to Jeffrey Epstein and Madam G, which is a very specific name to be using, and then they disappear. And apparently, the
Mhm.
ranch was searched in 2019 by the FBI but nobody knows anything else about it. Nobody knows anything else about it. And then came along today, and then I'm going to show you. I'll take you on a tour of the place because it is fascinating as a place. But today there was just a report that came out from a South African woman who at the time was 20 years old when she was at the ranch there, and she says things happened there that scared me so deeply I still can't even talk about them. She describes invasive medical abuse, invasive pelvic examinations performed by Epstein himself. No medical professionals were present, no consent was obtained. This is when it gets really weird. They woke up in what appeared to be a laboratory, she says. They observed people in hazmat suits, and unknown procedures or experiments were taking place. And she experienced significant memory gaps. Unlike other memories she had from Epstein Island, here she had no recollection of where she slept. She had no recollection of the sleeping quarters of the ranch. She had only what she refers to as fractured memories, or what they refer to as fractured memories, and a lot of suppressed trauma. Now, that all sounds deeply, deeply, deeply weird. And then she says this about Epstein, that his behavior at the ranch shifted from prior sexual assault patterns towards something even darker. So who knows what that means? Who knows why he's performing invasive things there? Who knows why he's
Do you
got,
remember that medical chair on Epstein Island that
yeah,
we were fascinated by?
yeah. But hazmat suits? What were they doing there that they needed hazmat
Ah,
suits?
fuck, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you know, I I don't know. Listen, and here's the other thing is I think it's important to recognize that the Trump regime is responsible for putting these out, right? We could have some red herrings. We could have some fantastic
Yeah,
information that might not be true, et cetera, et
could
cetera.
be,
But
yeah, could all be untrue. We don't know, but it's there. It is in the
we don't know. But here's the thing: is that it's so fucking weird, and this thing is so fucking weird, and it has been borne out to be true almost every step of the way that I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that he was conducting bunk weird medical experiments. He had this like fascination, and you know this as
Mm,
being a biographer and a researcher of Epstein, and everything to do with Epstein and what went into creating Epstein. You know that he had this fascination with breeding, eugenics and
yeah,
breeding, um whether you want to call it natalism, but a specific kind of breeding where you're breeding like the smartest people in the world, right? Like
yeah.
it's, how can you Elon Musk is a natalist and a eugenicist. That's why he's got 15 kids with like seven different women. Peter Thiel is too, but he's not going near a breeder to save his life
Mm.
because we know Peter
Although
Thiel isn't
Peter Thiel's
interested
got
in
two
that.
babies. He's got two babies, or maybe even more now.
Well,
So,
he probably, again, had them mixed up in a laboratory somewhere
oh yeah,
and
for sure. Yeah,
implanted in a very smart woman and paid her a lot of money for that. These guys are fucking psycho. And Epstein, and that's one of the other things I got out of this latest data dump too from the DOJ. After he was arrested, he made a concerted fucking effort to go after Silicon Valley and the money in Silicon Valley
mhm,
to cater to those people. One of the things that I noticed about Jeffrey Epstein, and this has been pointed out by you better people than me, you and Ellie, is that he was kind of this fucking master chameleon that was able to kind of shift and shape change and do all the things you need to do to be successful in a certain room. So for a long time he's running a scam, he's shorting markets, he's bankrupting economies and shorting economies, which he did in 2008, which is painfully clear. You have been validated over and over and over again in this latest dump, by the way, Zev, like validated, which explains why they came after you a few years ago and tried to ruin your life.
yeah.
But
They
the
didn't like me.
fascinating thing about these guys is that Jeffrey Epstein went in lock, stock, and Tommy Hawk to buying into the Curtis Yarvin shit, buying into eugenicism, buying into, how do we create the ultimate human being? How do we, and so I wouldn't doubt it that he was trying to run medical experiments on the sly at his ranch in Zorro and maybe on Epstein Island. And it absolutely proves out that medical room and the medical chair that he had in that room might not have been a dentist chair, right? So I
Yeah,
mean, hey,
could have been anything.
these are a lot of things that people don't understand understand about Jeffrey Epstein. But what you have to understand about Jeffrey Epstein is that he was involved in every part of every piece, moving piece of giving the global elites and the governments and the people that ran governments as part of that global elite and the oligarchs and Silicon Valley, giving them everything they wanted, including funding, specifically funding, so he would be whatever he needed to be for those people. Whether he believed in that shit or not, I don't know. I mean, he was deeply involved in Harvard, in the intellectual community there, had an office, deeply involved at MIT, giving all kinds of money and bursaries to those. So he had a thing with elitism, and he was also weird as fuck, like the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, it does say there's like this whole white nationalist vibe about it, and it might be, I don't know, it's just so weird everything they've done, and the same victim talks about the whole place being designed like and it sort of felt ritualistic to her, and people I've spoken to who visited the ranch under Epstein describe it as the creepiest place on earth. They describe
Mm.
it as rattlesnake country. I'll show you what it looks like from above, and then I'll show you inside because it's kind of interesting. Um, this is where it is. I mean, it is about as remote as you could place anything.
Holy shit, is it ever? Yeah.
Now, I'll zoom in again to show you exactly where the house is, but this is a giant, huge piece of property. This is not some small piece of land. By the way, government land sold to him by the governor, then governor of New Mexico.
Bill Richardson,
The no,
who's
one before
deeply
that,
involved.
the one before him.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Okay.
but Bill
Okay.
Richardson was on
Well,
often.
listen, Bill Richardson was at this fucking ranch a lot, and he was
He
on
had
the island a lot. He's now dead.
free access whenever he wanted to. Bill Richardson could have. So I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to show you this a couple of interesting features about this little place. Not so little. This is the compound. This is the house, right? And I'll show you it in a different shot soon. This little area that's being built over here that you see that's like got a circle in the sand. I'll show you that in a second. That looks very ritualistic. It's very weird. At first blush, I thought maybe a helicopter pad, but they didn't need that. There's a entire landing strip on this in this piece of property, which meant that they could bring in girls from around the world directly to here, rape them, dispose of them, and no one would even know. No one would even know. And then there's this property, which is a much smaller property when it was originally built, and then he built it out. And people tell me that they kept telling everybody, be careful of the rattlesnakes. So if you're a girl or a young woman in this facility, there is no place to run because there's
Mm.
rattlesnakes outside that are going to do awful things to you. The nearest structure here, and it's hard to even see on this map, but I'll try to show it to you, is let me see here. Is they have this little town over here. They have like a little village in Zorro, that's own little self-contained village with a fire station and a whole bunch of other things. But it's entirely Zorro owned. It's entirely owned by Epstein at the time, and oftentimes was empty. I mentioned the landing strip, and then there's these remote cabins, and there's other places where apparently Bill Clinton stayed at one time. A lot of the Hood Barak alleged crimes that happened against Virginia Giuffre happened here, or those incidents happened here. Here's a video, and it'll give you another sense of this. And I'm just going to let, because I think someone sent this to me, and I think it's just really fascinating to get a sense of why would you do this? Why are you building a piece of property like this in the middle of nowhere with an entire runway strip, and then this odd thing, this odd garden, I guess. I don't know what you could call it, with a circle and concentric circles. It looks very
Yeah,
ritualistic.
that's a walking garden. I'd be interested to get the statistics on which way it faced, the geometric design of it, because there's always something ritualistic about numbers and how people build these kinds of monolithic
Yeah.
gardens, which is what we're looking at.
The
Which,
whole thing is very
if you know anything
ritualistic.
about the Templars, if you know
Yeah.
anything about science and the religion of numbers, this everything is based in that. But it's
And he's a
fascinating.
mathematician,
And you
right?
bring up a good point. Yeah, absolutely. But you bring up a good point. In the how remote and dangerous this area of the world is, and what little is around it that isn't owned by Jeffrey Epstein as well. And it's funny because not one of us have talked about it other than you, which I appreciate you bringing it up because Why else would you want your own private airport? Why else would you want it secluded in the most dangerous parts of New Mexico? Why else would you own the town and all the infrastructure of the town that would service just this compound? And where the fuck are the house managers and housekeepers, to your point? Everybody seems to have disappeared,
Yeah.
and nobody seems to want to get any answers. And if what I'm looking at, hey, hang on a second. Enough. It's okay, baby. It's all right. Hey, 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 no. Hey, hey, stop.
Oh,
Hang
I
on a
love you being
second. I
a
gotta get the
dog.
dog to be.
That's okay. You can do that. You know what I'm gonna do in the meantime? I'll show people some pictures on the inside here. If again, this is designed
Where
by
did you get these videos? Where'd you get
this is
these
just
videos?
off
Oh, the link.
realtor.com.
Is it for
Realtor.com.
sale?
No, I just took them off real. You're looking at the website from realtor.com. Oh, it wasn't for sale? Yeah. It was bought by some weird LLC a few years ago. 2023 is when it was bought. Nobody really knows who owns the LLC. Nobody
I'll
knows.
tell you what. You find out who fucking owns this now,
Yeah.
and I bet
Tell-
you there's been a whole bunch of digging in the area. I bet you there's been a whole bunch of covering up of things in the area. I would be fascinated to know who
A
owns
lot of
this now.
people have suggested that, Godiva dogs should be brought in or drones to survey the land. And there is an attempt by the truth.
LiDAR.
Yeah, because, who knows what you might be able to find, even if their places have been cleaned up. But this is very much Ghislaine's style as well. This is the way she sort of did her her properties that she managed the interiors of. It's all very daunting and bigger than life. It's got these kind of like endless, the scale of it is just massive. And there was one picture here which I thought resembled the picture on the island. Where these couches are sort of. I know it's just a living room, but it looks like these giant, comfy couches with sort of big power brokers might sit around in front of the fire and discuss the world or whatever they might be doing. And again, just this very ritualistic vibe. This is a very unusual setting. I don't know why anyone would buy this property. Why would anyone build this?
Well,
Like, what's the
especially after,
purpose?
if it's sold pretty quick, especially after knowing what happened there,
Yeah.
right? Or even the allegations of what happened there.
But why would Epstein
That's
even
just
have it?
fucking
Like, what
bananas.
was the point behind it? Like,
It's because it's a playground to hold children hostage, to sexually assault them, to do it and bring other people in that have that same fetish, to catch power brokers from around the world in the act and present it as, oh, it's just a ranch in New Mexico. I love it. It's very secluded. Da, 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 da. It's not. It's a fucking kill house. It's a
yeah.
rape house. It's a child trafficking house with a maze of buildings and multiple rooms. And from what I understand too, this place had a full-on multimedia room that had cameras in every room as well that fed back, that recorded 24/7 in very specific areas for
Oh,
that purpose, much
yeah,
like
I'm
the island.
sure. I haven't heard that, but I'm sure there must be all sorts of surveillance equipment that must have been there. Each of these houses, by the way, it had the main house and then several other houses around. If you're a young woman from Europe or Eastern Europe who's been flown in, or South Africa, or wherever, has been flown in here, you would be terrified of going anywhere. I mean, you would rather have the horror you had at home than, and many of these people describe the most horrific, violent sexual encounters, which is why you get the deaths or the bodies disappearing. Now, that's one
Well,
thing on its
and
own.
can we sorry,
So,
can we also just kind of bring up the fact that, from 2001, 1999, 2001, 2002, these reports, these FBI reports and personal testimony that some of the women gave under oath about, being raped repeatedly by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and then threatened with death,
mhm,
saying that they would be buried and no one would ever find them.
yeah,
These are women that gave testimony under oath, that could be convicted of fucking perjury. And they're like, okay, well, here's the deal. And there are multiple reports like that in this dump. Like I gotta say, I've maybe read a dozen that are so eerily similar,
yeah.
which is, tell anybody, tell your family, I will fucking kill you. You will never be heard from or seen from again. No one will ever find you. And this is what Epstein would say to some of these women. This is what Trump would say to some of these women. and a lot of them were terrified, but that speaks to the courage of them speaking up, because if we're to believe what we're talking about right now, if there's facts, that if their facts bear out that there are children, young women and children that were murdered during rough fetish sex, and then buried on golf courses and buried in the hills around Zorro Ranch, it certainly makes the litany of dozens of other documented threats from people that didn't know each over a 30-year period. It certainly validates some of those comments and testimonies, does it not?
Well, almost every person who's reported engaging in sex with Donald Trump or Jeffrey Epstein, including Katie Johnson, describes very violent scenes. Being told, that if she, at one point, I think Katie Johnson spoke about, if you want me to wear a condom, just he ignored her when she requested a condom, and allegedly, and then also told her to have a fucking abortion and threw some money at her. Um, that was the way he handled these things allegedly. These are reports you're talking about, and they're so significant that let's just take. I don't know if you can read, not that one in particular. Let me find this other one here. Might be easier to read this one. So this is. Sorry, these are the wrong ones. These are all about the economic bubble that they were trying to blow up at the time. But there's a couple here that I can show you. Then I'll find the actual ones that I was trying to show you. Although these are difficult to read like this. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Ooh. You know what? I can't show you those because they're just too small right now. Let me pull them up properly, and then I'll come back to them later on. But there are, on the
I got them.
site, I put some up right now. Yeah, maybe you found them on the site. Maybe um, I could, otherwise I could just pull it up. Um,
Yeah. Um, Hang on a second. Let me grab this, because it's truly remarkable, some of the content that was in that dump. I personally cannot believe. I mean, I can believe it, but I can't believe that this has gone on for as long as it has. It's been one. It's one of those those and because it's gone on for as long as it has, and I can't remember who said this yesterday, but I get increasingly more nervous that we're not going to find out
well, there's
what really
definitely that
happened.
vibe around it that we're never going to find out the whole truth, and that there is no interest in anybody revealing the whole truth in this. And that is, we might be getting about as closest to the truth as we'll ever get with this dump, because it just doesn't appear to me like the appetite is there from the people in power to really pursue this in any other way. I mean, it's not like Donald Trump or the DOJ are interested in pursuing this. We are looking at probably it. This is what Donald Trump keeps saying. He keeps saying that this is the end of the. It's time to put this to rest or whatever he keeps saying. Because I don't know if this goes anywhere at the end of the day, but it's frightening that it exists. Here's the one which you can't really read properly, but I can tell you what it says above here. It says that this person witnessed Robin Leach. You remember him from House? What's it?
Hmm.
Lifestyles of the Rich and
Hmm.
Famous. Strangle a young girl during a sex party. He claims that she's buried behind the 19th hole at the Donald Trump golf course. X is aware of their separate accusations of in which girls were, sorry, it's hard for me to read, murdered and buried there. X was told if he spoke about the incident he witnessed, he would end up in the hole as well. He
19th
gave
hole. Yeah.
Maxwell the idea. Somebody gave Maxwell the idea to put cameras in at the golf course to review the cartel members and to understand um, how to market the 12 to 14-year-old victims to the cartel. I mean, up above that, it's
Interesting, eh?
yeah,
How he brought in the entire Sinaloa cartel family and gave them all pardons, and they're living in America. Interesting how he pardoned one of the heads of the Sinaloa cartel, the Honduran president, who's supposed
yeah.
to be in jail for 45 years. Interesting how every single one of his cabinet members, 36 of them, were implicated in the Epstein files. Interesting how the only person's name that's mentioned more in the Epstein files than Donald Trump is less, just a little bit less, not much less, Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Interesting how his entire oligarchy is named in the Epstein files, including and not limited to every single person on his tech advisory board, from
Yeah.
Bill Gates, whose wife is saying, yeah, it's a problem. He has some questions to answer after she was asked if Bill Gates was on Epstein Island and gave her an STD from hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein and his
Wow.
quote harem. To your point, and these are all facts, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making any of this stuff up. The yellow outlined document that came from the accounts from trafficking Donald Trump. Please note a criminal history and deposition, reaching out to get clarification that one of the complaint summaries that this victim reported an unidentified female friend forced to perform oral sex on the president 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told this person that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old. The friend allegedly bit Trump while performing oral sex. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. At age 16, modeling, caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. One occasion, the caller reported she was sexually assaulted by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers, Alan and Orrin.
Hmm.
We need to look at see who Alan and Orrin are. Lured and caller and a friend upstairs. They escaped downstairs. Orrin raped her best friend and third brother Tal raped a 14-year-old girl named Blacked Out. Caller named other individuals involved a big orgy party with her and other girls. Older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Online complaint reported that she was a victim and a witness to a sex trafficking ring at the Trump golf course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 95 and 96. Complainant reported Ghislaine Maxwell as the madam and broker for sex parties, client of whom included Epstein. Robin Leach, to
So
further
that's a
your
separate,
video.
it's a separate complaint about Robin Leach doing that exact thing that was reported in the first complaint. So you've got two eyewitnesses calling the FBI about Robin Leach strangling somebody during rough sex and the body being buried. I mean, that's not something you cannot investigate. That is something you have to investigate. That is not just a not credible, tip. That is a
Mhm.
second source confirming independently an event that supposedly took place at the golf course. And we know now through these files that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were hosting sex parties at the president's house
Mhm.
and his golf course. I
Mhm.
mean, this is not speculation anymore. This is not us thinking it may have happened. This is evidence inside the FBI files that the president of the United States was throwing sex parties organized by two convicted sex pedophiles involving likely underage girls, because that's what was involved here.
Let me read you this one testimony. Keep in mind, this is testimony from 16 years ago.
Mhm.
It's as part of a dossier of all these victims that were raped, assaulted, possibly murdered by Donald Trump. This is telling, and it kind of backs up what you're saying here as well. In one incident, a caller reported in 1987 a friend, victim one, was out drinking, ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim one saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave victim one a drink, and victim one woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. A real theme here
Mhm.
is that he throws money on the bed when he's done, like he's some kind of big shot, which is, he's
Yeah,
just a fucking pedophile and a
but
rapist.
you
Anyway,
know
$300 on
he
the
does
bed.
that. You know that's the kind of thing he
Yeah,
does. Of course, that's
that
right.
it's documented in, I counted 20 different files, and I've read. Keep in mind, I've read very little compared to you and Ellie. Anyway, victim one called. This is funny. Victim one didn't remember how she got in the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim one called the caller and told her she thought she'd been raped. Victim one did not go to the hospital to have a rape kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her because she was drunk. Victim one's husband's business had problems with suppliers, and victim one believed Trump was behind it. Victim one also started dating a lawyer, identifiers unknown, who was married. Victim one had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend, went to a bar. Victim one left the bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized but seemed familiar with victim one. Victim one was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what victim one was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. The result and the follow up, according to the FBI, no contact was made because the victim identified as deceased and the complainant would not confirm the information. Scared. How many of these fucking examples? Like
A
AI's got to be
lot.
able to fucking source how many different, exactly the same fucking examples of how Donald Trump raped, how Jeffrey Epstein raped, and it sounds like disposed of in some capacity the women,
Yeah.
these
No, I
young
mean,
girls, these children. How many fucking examples? Like, and there's so many fucking files. We're scratching the surface still.
we don't even have all
Like
the
we're
files. We've got only some of the files. There are more files. And these are 3.5 million. It's going to take a while for everyone to get through. But,
yeah.
even the little bit that we've been able to go through so far, the patterns that you're pointing out are so specific and they so repeat themselves over and over again over 20 something years. It's not possible. It's just not. I don't know. It's for it to just be happening as a coordinated event is not possible. These people are not just making stuff up; they're all making the same thing up. Then, so it's just it strains credulity that none of this happened, which is what the president is asking us to believe. It
That's
just
a
can't
nice
believe.
way for you to say it. Strains credulity.
Yeah,
It's not possible.
yeah,
It's not possible that over 30 years, hundreds of brave women and young men
mhm,
had the exact same story that resulted in the exact same threats. It is not possible that over 30 years, all of these accounts of murder, hiding bodies, being threatened with death, disappearing, only to have their remains found 4 years later. It is not possible that they all follow the same pattern and the same fucking people are involved every time. And fucking the number one name outside of Maxwell and Epstein by a country fucking mile is the president of the United States.
there are 38,000 mentions of Donald Trump. We originally said 5,400, but the more we read, the more we add them up. It's 38,000 associated with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. This is not.
In 3.8 million documents,
Yeah,
3.8, because 3.5 were
yeah,
released, right? We had 400, 300,000
yeah.
before that. There are still an estimated 7 million documents that we haven't seen.
God knows what we haven't seen, but the ones that we haven't seen the video. By the way, all these surveillance videos that were taken out of all these properties with all the surveillance footage of what was going on exists
Mhm.
somewhere in the Justice Department. You are none of that has been released. Not a single shred of that has been released. So you know,
I gotta tell you, I wouldn't doubt that they have been destroyed. You know, there's a single point of failure that goes with, from my understanding, from what I've heard, with what we're not seeing. There's also a single point of failure when it comes to the January 6th documentation. That
mm,
has since disappeared, right?
right.
No one can find that information. So I wouldn't doubt, like, this is as bad as it gets. I wouldn't doubt what is significantly worse than as bad as it gets is the stuff that possibly has been destroyed, and why we're only getting 3.8 million
Yeah.
documents out of the close to ten and a
But
half
even the
million
stuff
that
we're
allegedly
seeing,
exist.
the stuff we're seeing
Yeah,
is horrific. I mean, we're not going to get to the
it's
rest of the
enough.
stories today on this five stack, so we might as well just say this is a one stack. But the stuff
Yeah.
that we're seeing is so convincing to me that we need to have a proper investigation. We need to at least consider getting a search warrant for the president's golf course. I mean, are there girls buried in the presidential golf course? Is this actually possible that there's girls there? And we know the location hub. Shouldn't we at least check it out? Shouldn't we check out the it might be many years, maybe people have been moved, maybe bodies have been dispersed, but shouldn't we at least investigate where these allegations took place?
I do know of one person who died unceremoniously falling down the stairs
Mhm.
prior to her NDA coming out with Donald Trump, according to how many times he raped her. He was married to her. Her name is Ivana Trump. She's buried in the rough at the side of, I think it's the fifth hole
New
at
Jersey.
Mar-a-Lago, and it's all covered, or sorry, in Bedminster, New
Yeah.
Jersey. She's literally, and Donald Trump used that for a tax write-off. So again, you want to talk fucking pattern. The dude buried his ex-wife who accused him of rape as well, days before her NDA with Trump when it came to aspects of their relationship and the abuse she suffered at his hands was about to was about
He,
to expire.
yeah, it's about to expire.
And then she fucking fell down the stairs and she's buried at his golf course. I
It's pretty
I think
concerning. Pretty concerning.
yeah,
And then you've
yeah.
got these photographs of him with his own children around Jeffrey Epstein, where they look frightened. I mean, those pictures always struck me as being disturbing. Ivanka and her relationship with her father has always come under question because of the way he described her, and that he often, apparently, according to the Katie Johnson lawsuit, liked Katie Johnson because she looked like Ivanka. I mean, these things aren't they all add up. Now, whether that stops us from getting to the to are we going to see justice in this case? Probably not. I mean, probably not. But then just think about what it looks like to have this man, this cruel, evil human being, running the United States, the biggest country in the world, and the implications of that and what lies ahead for the world. I mean, that
Um,
is just
did you
the yeah.
sorry, go ahead. That is just the what?
That's what it comes down to. I mean, that's if this guy's as bad as people say he is, and a lot of people saying this guy's pretty bad, you know, we have two options because the world doesn't look very good going forward if he's in charge.
You know, I'll use what Jeffrey Epstein said about Trump in a series of emails that he is the worst of the worst. This is like 13 years ago. He sent
Mm-hmm.
an email to a person they were talking about Trump. They said he's, quote, evil. He's the worst of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that he won't do. There's nothing this fucking guy is incapable of. That's Jeffrey Epstein, the world's worst pedophile enabler and pedophile, saying that Donald Trump is the worst of us.
Mm-hmm.
Not humanity, the worst of his pedophilic group of assholes and business elites, the worst. And we're seeing it borne out in minimal correspondence in what little we've already got access to.
Yeah.
How much worse is the rest of it?
I mean, I shudder to think about what the reality is. And I've spoken to people who've known him as the reality show star who had his bodyguard pulling people out of the crowd at the tapings of The Apprentice in order to take them backstage. And I've seen photographs of them actually doing it. Security people pulling people out of the crowd. We've heard reports of Donald Trump and his beauty pageant victims being, you know, leered at, inspected naked. Who knows what happened there behind the scenes. This is not just a one-time thing. This is a serial womanizer, a serial rapist, whose mode of sex is cruel and violent and rape. I mean, that's basically what he like. You have a rapist as the president of the United States. It's hard to deny that that's who he is, with all the convictions and all the judgments against him, and certainly these FBI files point in that direction.
Well, he's an adjudicated rapist, which means the judge has said, according to all the evidence he's seen, Donald Trump is a rapist. There are 31 different verified sexual assaults, rapes to his name that he has settled or managed to wriggle his way out of in some capacity. There are 38,000 different mentions of him being a pedophile and a rapist in the Epstein files. 38 fucking thousand on top of the 31 verified attempts to sexually assault and rape women, on top of paying off Stormy Daniels. There are now, if to the best of my estimate, at least four. The woman in the park who was found dead, not ruled suicide, but they didn't follow up on it, that Donald Trump allegedly raped. There are now several, accounts, all varying, different of, paying for abortions, forcing young girls to throw their babies in Lake Michigan. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another one in the middle
Yes.
of winter.
There's another one. And then
Now
we've got
we
the
have
Stormy
examples of
Daniels
women.
cases. We've got the stuff that was also known as true
Yeah,
from them. I mean, it's
yeah.
just, you know, there's
It
plenty.
there's there's they say where there's smoke there's fire, but we're literally watching a bonfire.
Mm,
And Donald Trump tried to tell everybody it's not. There's an old example. Don't tell me it's raining. Don't don't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. Donald Trump literally thinks he can tell anybody and everybody that that's enough. Like that's what he said today, right? He's like, that's enough. That's enough. No, we're not. No more Epstein files.
yeah.
And he can't get away from it. There's absolutely no way the levee is has broken. I mean, do I think that there will be consequences for him? I mean, I don't know. What I know is that we're seeing the end of Donald Trump's influence because of this, but we're also seeing the end of Donald Trump's influence in a way where you can now draw straight lines from Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein to Russia, to Israel,
Mm.
to Canada. There are Canadian victims and there are Canadian perpetrators of this, and I'll be getting on that. One of the names that's in the Epstein files. I know the gentleman from Canada, and I have some work to do to figure out whether or not I can talk about this because it affects, and I shit you not, I don't know him like I've never seen him in different aspects of this life, but I will say this is that it fits, and so this is a global problem, and because it's a global problem, it touches so many incredibly fucking wealthy and influential people, incredibly wealthy and influential. Um, the likelihood of us getting to the bottom of it and getting justice for the victims, which is all I care about. It's all any person, of course, you want this to affect the leadership of the United States so that we can turf the JD Vances and all, everybody that's promoting this with permission by running interference for them. Because that's what this is. If you permit it, you fucking promote it. JD Vance is a pedophile protector. Every single member of that cabal is protecting a pedophile, but they're not just protecting that pedophile. They're protecting pedophiles from all over the world. They're protecting pedophiles from his fucking cabinet. They're protecting pedophiles and rapists from Silicon Valley that are trying to do things like take over the UK, take over fucking Europe, take over France, take over Germany. Why do you think Elon Musk, who by the way had his fucking offices in France rated for
Child abuse.
sexualizing child abuse, for child abuse? It's
Mm.
tied to this. And it's not just tied to this. I've got a piece about it. You can read all about it. Go to deanblundell.substack.com. But also about trying to force change of certain governments that would offer accountability for this kind of stuff. Like, why do you think Donald Trump is talking about nationalizing elections? Why do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is continuing to fund and run roughshod over, Gaza? Why do you think? Why? I mean, it all fucking comes back to the Epstein files, which is nuts when you think about it, because so many of us sat here with the conspiratorial thinking of, is there really a global cabal of
Yeah.
elites that are tied to a sex trafficking? There is.
And it's not just the sex trafficking. You know what Russia is trying to do and is succeeding in doing through this operation. Let's face it, Jeffrey Epstein worked for the Russians. Whether you call him an asset or an agent or whatever, there are enough connecting dots to prove that he absolutely. And I ran a story about this the other day on Narrative. There's a lot there to say he's a Russian asset at least. In the interview with Steve Bannon, he spoke about. Steve Bannon said that he was giving advice to Vladimir Putin. That's who he said to Jeffrey Epstein in the room. What does it feel like to give advice to Vladimir Putin? Well, let me assure you that there are tons of points of evidence here that point to Jeffrey Epstein being working for, in cahoots with, whatever you want to say, the Russians. And if you understand what they've done to the economy in the last 50 years, where they have systematically collapsed it over and over again, stealing the money, using these so-called technologies like mortgage-backed securities, and these days they call it cryptocurrency, in order to hype the market and then crash it If you look at what's going on with the US dollar right now, if you look at what's going on to our overall balance sheet, where you see America in debt, $38 trillion. How did we get so far in debt with the richest country in the world? Where is that money? Where did that money go to? That money has been siphoned out of our economy, and we're all holding the bag. And it's not just related to Jeffrey Epstein, it is connected directly to Jeffrey Epstein and the same
Hmm.
network of people that we're talking about here, the same network of rapists, the same network of human traffickers that also happen to run other countries in the world who are similarly autocratic in nature. And that's just the way it is. Now, we can lie to
Mm.
ourselves and we can say all sorts of other things and pretend that this man is different, but he is not. And we have the evidence to prove it now. The question is, what on earth are we going to do about it?
Mm. Well, that speaks to the importance of this conversation and ones like it. It speaks to the importance of the one that you're going to have tonight at 7 o'clock, the panel with Ellie and Lev and a few other people. That's just going to deal with the Katie Porter thing. Everybody should watch. Hit the subscribe button at the top. Little gray Chiron. If you hit it right now, you'll subscribe to Zev. You'll subscribe to me. And it speaks to the importance of citizen-led initiatives like this. I mean, the two biggest, investigative reporters that are following, the money and what made this possible and how they did it and why they did it. It was all monetary based. That's my man Zeb Shalev here at narrative.org. And if you go read his greatest heist series, you'll have an aha moment every two sentences. And Ellie Leonard, who's going to be on with you a little later on this afternoon around 7 o'clock right here on Substack. So please, and they're going to break it down. They're going to go through the Katie Porter thing. Why are they going through the Katie
Katie
Porter thing?
Johnson thing,
Because
you mean?
Katie Johnson,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
she was a 13-year-old who was ready to tell all prior to 2016, and she was scared shitless, and she has been in hiding ever since. And she filed a lawsuit, and that lawsuit was real. And Donald Trump is trying desperately to stay away from it. But here's the thing. And I think this is an inflection point for everybody. These documents and what that has led to, these incredibly egregious and disgusting allegations, which have a pattern, which fit the pattern, which seem to be very fucking real.
Mhm.
Um, and then you combine that with what happened in Minnesota this last weekend, and in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Chicago, where literally, millions of Americans decided that that was enough. Donald Trump's fucking losing. I said that with Lev today. He's losing. He's losing and he knows it. And that's why he's trying so desperately to take over these elections. It's why he's trying to nationalize the election, forcing, Republicans, we need to be the ones that count the votes. No, the reason why he's doing that is because, and the reason why Elon Musk is calling the raid on his ex offices in Paris, a political attack,
Yeah.
is because all of them are trying to never be accountable for raping and sexually assaulting thousands of young girls and the financial crimes they committed and the reasoning behind why they all hid, all hid, and they're still hiding behind the wake of Donald Trump's ability to fucking gaslight and lie his way through this. And I'll tell you what, it seems to me Donald Trump has surrounded himself with everybody that has just as much to lose as him, whether it be Putin and the oligarchs, whether it be Saudi Arabia. These are countries that have people that are heavily mentioned in the Epstein files, whether it be Netanyahu and Israel with Ehud Barak, whether it be the oligarchy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Every single one of those people, Donald Trump has put in key positions, which is why America is being run by fucking idiots, which is why you never, ever allow a guy like that to hold office, ever. But
It's
somehow America did. Somehow he made it through. Somehow he was vetted by the right people, where he was allowed a felon, a 34-time felon, an adjudicated rapist with 31 different credible examples of sexually assaulting or raping women, who now is being outed as possibly a fucking like disgusting serial killer and child rapist. It's what he is. It's what they're saying. That's what this is. And if you don't think he didn't intentionally surround himself with people who did the same things, who have just as much to lose as him, you're fucking crazy. They're all in. They're all in. And I'm not saying they're all in on it, because they are. They are all in, because if they're not, it's over.
but
The
that's the design.
importance of these files is very fucking serious right now.
That is so well said, because this is exactly the architecture of this thing is if you're in on the financial crimes, you had to be in on the sex crimes because the sex
Hmm.
crimes are the insurance that you're not going to squeal, that you're not going to rat out the rest of the team. So it's not a coincidence that these are all horribly violent child-related sex crimes, because that was the price to pay to get into the scheme. And the scheme pays really well. It pays really, really well. But they needed that insurance, and it's very Russian. It's very KGB. This is the way they do
Hmm.
things. And it's no surprise that he's so connected to Russia. This is the compromise they needed to ensure that the financial scheme could take place. Well,
Hmm.
that is the five stack today. DeanBlundell.substack.com. I'm so glad to be saying those words again. Is a must
Are you
read and
happy
must
I'm back?
subscribe. Hmm?
Are
Say
you
again?
happy I'm back?
I'm really
Are you
happy you're
happy I'm
back.
back?
I
I'm
love
happy
our
I'm back too.
conversation so much. I don't care if I love everybody showing up. I love everyone showing up. But if no one showed up, I'd still want to have this conversation every day because it's just great fun. And you're so intuitive and your knowledge is so vast. Your Substack is a must read for everybody. And I know you like to downplay it, but it is very important analysis and really important journalism that goes on at deanblundell.substack.com. So please subscribe to it. It's necessary for everybody.
Thank you. Yes, right now 30% off for the month of February for
Ooh.
annual subscriptions. I just keep getting cheaper, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I do. I want everybody to come on in, and you lock that in right now, and would love to have you there. And again, paid subs get us to the top of that algorithm, and more people will see it, and then this conversation becomes much more widely available. Free or paid doesn't matter. Just grateful you're here. Grateful to be a part of something, not just with you, but with someone like you that has the ability to kind of understand nuance that nobody else does, and the financial crimes involved. Everybody, 7 o'clock tonight on Zev's channel. Lev will have it. Ellie will have it as well.
You
Just
should
go to
come. You should join
nerds.org
us.
and give. I'm gonna do my best. I
Good.
am
You're still
I
awake.
flew for like 15 hours yesterday.
Oh, well.
Got in late last night. Woke up this morning. I literally had no idea where I was. I had
Okay.
no, I had no idea. I woke up. I'm like, where am I? What
They
country
didn't
am
sort of
I
teleport
in?
you up some secret North Pole
No,
tunnel or anything like that and just
no.
drop you off at home in three
Fortunately,
seconds?
no.
Ah, I thought
No,
they had
no,
that.
I wish, but it was an incredible trip, and you can read all about it and my takeaway at deanblundell.substack.com. But thank you all for your patience. Daily Dean is back up. We're all back to normal. We'll be doing this for some time, hopefully, if unless I get called away to go and kick some teeth in on behalf of democracy, which is what I love doing with my friends at the Save America movement. Give them a follow here as well. Zev, great to see you, my brother.
Great
As
to see you.
always, I'll see you at 7 o'clock, hopefully, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock with the five stack. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.